it had a ditch. It bended. It had a bent inward, a concave, yes. That is what, amongst others, that he told this court.
Secondly, the evidence of Colonel Mangena is that he tested, he looked at all the test bullets and he positively identified all of them, but that, you know, he chose to use bullet 5 and 9 because the transfer of marks was better. My colleagues keep on referring to the fact that bullet 9 had a ditch. I think the evidence of Lieutenant Colonel Mangena was because this was a CMJ, it's made of soft material, and it's sort of, you know, there's an area where it bent a bit and did not transfer marks properly, but he did not use the word ditch.
Exactly, my lord. I think the court would understand that. When I was trying to explain that bend a bit, I said I actually was struggling to get a proper weight, which is the reason why I actually put this witness at ease that in Mr. Mangena's demonstration, he even used a spirit level to demonstrate that at a particular point that bullet had a bend, a ditch. When I say a ditch, I mean that bend.
An indentation. That's the right word.
Yes, indentation. Incidentation.
Indentation.
Indentation.
Is it there in ballistics, sir?
That the term exists, my lord.
Okay, fine.
Thank you. That bullet had a ditch. When I say ditch, I refer to indentation. Now, did the bullet that you worked on to confirm Mangena's finding had that indentation? I think I need to repeat this word many times, my lord, because it's a bit of a tongue twister. It's indentation.
Don't know English.
You don't know.
Your spirit is half naked.
You hesitate, Span, and I hesitate.
The one that you worked on, bullet number 8 or bullet number 4. It's bullet number 4 or bullet number 8. Did they have that incidentation?
So. Oh no, Mnisi, don't mind Baloy. Don't mind Baloy. Just blue check him. Just blue tick him exactly the way you've been doing all day. Not a problem. We all understood when you said ditch. As a matter of fact, I understood better. I understood better when you explained ditch than anything Mangena said. Okay, so ditch it is. Ditch it is, because now it's indentation and you're struggling with that, and now you're calling it an incidentation. Let's go back to ditch. Let's go back to the drawing board. We get what you're trying to say. Baloy, please take several seats, okay? This is black excellence in action.
I cannot recall because there are several things, several marks that one is looking at around the circumference of the bullet, so I cannot recall.
But surely say if it had that indentation, you would have realized it, not so?
I still stick to my answer to say that I cannot recall. I cannot mislead this court and say I saw it in detention or I did not see it. I can simply not recall.
Now, that is therefore an indication that your confirmation of Mangena's results were based on exhibits which did not exhibit similar characteristics. No, I mean his confirmation of Mr. Mangena's work to have been positive could not have been proper because they were working on exhibits which did not have similar characteristics. That is what I'm trying to say.
I have already explained that the ballistics is not based on the fact that the marks which are visible on even bullets fired from the same firearm. Those marks are not microscopically identical. They are similar. They are similar to a certain degree. So what you see on test number 1 is not a photocopy of the surface of test bullet number 5 or number 6. The degree of similarity among the tests will show that they have a common origin, but it does not mean that they are microscopically identical, but they are similar to a high degree.
I don't dispute it, but what I'm saying to you, say, is that the characteristics, the bullets, the way in which they look like, was not the same, because Mangena's had that had that pitch, that incidentation. The ones that you work upon, you cannot specifically say they had that ditch or not.
That statement will be correct only if we agree that marks on bullets are microscopically identical, and it is not the case.
You don't seem to understand my question. Say, in other words, you're comparing stars, two stars that not were cooked from the same pot, if I were to say like that. In other words, the other exhibit had a ditch. The ones that you worked upon did not have a ditch. So how could you then have said that they match when the instrument that you're working upon to compare were not similar?
The test bullets were all fired from the same firearm. But because of reproducibility or transferability of marks, what you find on group number 1 for test number 1, for example, you may not find it adequately on test number 1. I mean to say on group number 1 of test number 2. I'm just making an example. That is why you must consider all the groups which are visible on the specimen. So the similarities, the total similarities against the differences will tell you whether or not those specimens have a common origin.
Thank you, sir. I hear your explanation. Now, I'm going to put it to you, say, that based on the characters that Mr. Mangena told this court that the bullet number 9 exhibited, on which he based his finding, and the fact that you could not identify those characters, that ditchy character, on the bullets that you worked on, you could therefore not have come to the conclusion that the bullet that Mr. Mangena said was fired from the firearm. Test bullet number 9 that was fired from the firearm that you went to fetch at Cleveland. You could not have confirmed that those that were fired by you as well could have been fired by the same firearm because of the differences in the structure of the bullet.
That is incorrect.
Thank you. Let's proceed. Now, striations. Before I get to that, you said the results with regard to the subjective, the results, you go through a microscope, you find that there are similarities in terms of striations or the pattern matching. The interpretation of those results is subjective, not so.
That is correct.
What an absolute shocker. I can't even believe Mnisi finally got him to answer a question without giving an explanation. And you're telling me all it took is for Mnisi to say, you said that the striations and the interpretation of the striations is subjective? Oh no, there goes Mnisi Wemvula again, laying his trap. We are now in part 2 because in part 1 of this video, Mnisi was going on and on and on about the dent, okay? He had to learn a new word, indentation, but he struggled with it, okay? He struggled. But you know what? I like his confidence. Even when he's saying incidentation, he's still going. He's still putting across his point. Baloyi has gone dead silent. He gets it. This man is not going to change with the English for the Queen, okay? He doesn't care. And now, have you guys noticed Serio's tone of voice? Confidence, dololo, voice unsure of himself. Where are we going with this? Now the question I have is, what has been on my mind is, Serial is actually the team lead, the boss, okay? The one who says do this, do that, the one who assesses people. With Umshololo, he said he's the one who does the, what is it called? The review when they decide how you did, the performance review. Now, this brings to question for me, what kind of a leader is he? If he couldn't even catch a dent, is he a minimalist leader? Is he a bare minimalist leader? We know in the South African police services, there's a lot of people there working minimal services, okay? They do not care. They're just there for the paycheck. I could name a few. Mahola, okay? There's just so many who just did the bare minimum with their jobs. But yeah, this is getting interesting. We are now in part 2, striations, okay? Striations. And all Serial had to say was, that's correct? He's not putting up a fight anymore? It's about to get more interesting.
Thank you. Now, would the finding whether a certain mark in a bullet constitute a striation be a subjective one or not?
The marks that are on the surface of the specimen, they form objective facts.
So in other words, you cannot look at the mark and say, from my viewpoint, no, this is not a striation. And somebody comes and say, no, from my viewpoint, this is a striation. In other words, a striation remains a striation, whether you like it or not.
When the marks are there, they are there. So the person who view the specimen, he must interpret what he see on the specimen. If I just use simple terms, maybe
Yes.
I can say what is on the surface of the specimen is decoded. Is encoded.
Is
so
what?
He is encoded.
Is
He must
encoded.
decode. Yes, he must decode it.
Okay.
Meaning that he must be able to identify it.
Yes.
It is there, but it is now up to the analyst to decode, to identify what he sees.
Yes.
And that will depend on his level of training.
That is my question. I am saying the determination of whether a mark, as it is seen under a microscope, is constituting a striation or not. Is it a subjective thing or is it an objective thing?
This witness is basically saying the marks
Yes.
are immutable.
Yes.
They are there.
Yes.
They are formed.
Yes.
The only issue is the interpretation or the decoding of the marks, as he says, which is exercised by an examiner. And that will depend on his training proficiency in the interpretation of those marks. But those marks are ineluctable. They are there.
We agree.
That's what he says, it's not me.
We agree that those marks are there.
Yes.
But my question is the interpretation
yeah.
of whether those marks constitute a striation or not.
Yeah.
Is it a subjective thing based on the fact, on the experience and the level of education of that person or what?
Yes, the interpretation, that is the identification of those marks,
Yes.
is subjective in nature.
Thank you. Thank you. Then that simply means that one expert might identify a certain mark as a striation and the other expert might differ with him, not so. Is that what you're explaining?
You're going to look sure.
Yes, if the other expert does not have adequate training, he will not be able to identify what is already on the specimen.
This expert went to school on the 1st of January 2024. They were trained for 3 years. And the first expert is 24 years in the service. The other expert has got exactly 24 years. The experience is similar in all material respects. Let's not try to say the other one is less experienced. But now the principle is, one expert can say this is a striation, and the other can say, no, according to me, this is not a striation, who have the same qualification and the same level of experience. That is the case. That's what we're trying to explain, not so.
The other expert, if he uses the wrong technique, but the wrong technique goes back to skill, cannot escape the question of skill, knowledge and skill. Because even the theory we rely upon, that is knowledge.
Yes.
And when you operationalize it, you put it in practice,
Yes.
you are building a skill. So I cannot state anything outside the parameters of knowledge and skill.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. But we are agreeing that subjectively one expert may say this is a striation, the other one may say this is not a striation. The interpretation of what they see there, it's subjective.
It may happen, yes,
Thank you.
if the level of skill, knowledge and skill is not the same.
Thank you. Now let's come to the method of counting this striation, which are found in same relative area or position. Now, in circumstances where the CMS theory of determination is used. Now, you had explained what relative position means in very clear and certain terms. You had introduced your curriculum vitae as, amongst others, you said you were a teacher. You go out and give lectures on ballistic activities and all those things. In other words, you go out and teach students. It dawned to me that you probably, those new members that arrive at your section, you also take them through these theories, not so?
It is correct until I assume the current role. When I assumed the role I'm currently in,
Yes.
I stopped presentations.
You are a teacher by blood, if I were to put it that way.
I hear that.
Now, how do you count this striation that are found in same relative area?
As I've indicated,
Yes.
that I follow the dominant and the old traditional method,
Yes.
pattern matching method. You will compare the two surface contours of the marks,
Yes.
and that must be similar on the left and right.
Yes.
And those marks must be at the same relative position.
Okay, thank you, sir. Maybe you did not understand my question. My question was, in relation to what Mr. Mangena said, use CMS to find a match. This CMS method to find a match. In other words, the usage of striations. Now, I was requesting you to explain to this court, how do you count this striation in order to get the determination that there's a match? In other words, how do you count this striation for them to constitute a match?
did not use the CMS approach.
Yes, that I do understand. I mean, as an expert, you said the pattern matching and the CMS method are mutually inclusive. In other words, there's nothing wrong in one member using a pattern match, and there's nothing wrong in the other member using a CMS to do a determination or to do an analysis. Now, as an expert, I'm requesting you to assist this court. When you are using CMS as a method of comparison, how do you then count this striation?
The approach of CMS, as I understand it, although I did not apply it or I don't apply it, it states that there should be consecutive.
Let's come here. You say you never used CMS in any of your analysis.
I use pattern matching because it is a standard method that we use.
Lieutenant Colonel, please understand my question. My question is, are you saying that in any of the experiments, that in any of the analysis that you did, you never used CMS?
I use pattern matching as it is a method that is as it is a method that we use currently. From my side, yes, I use pattern matching.
Thank you. My lord, I realize that we left with, it's actually 1:45, that is 15 minutes to 1 o'clock. I don't know, there is something that is bugging me here. I don't know, may we take an early adjournment, my lord? I don't know what is happening. I feel like I'm getting a bit dizzy.
What do you mean early adjournment? You mean we must adjourn for the day?
No, my lord, for the lunchtime. There's something that is making me dizzy. I don't know what it is. I want to be very sincere, man.
Too much muti.
Maybe, my lord. And I can see where it comes from.
Yeah.
Thank you, my lord.
Maybe even the judges got bells here.
Yes. Thank you.
Wow, you know, we have two bulls in the crawl, okay? We have Baloyi and Judge RATHA sitting this one out, back and forth, Mnisi, Sereo, Mnisi, Sereo, Mnisi, Sereo. Same question. The exact same question. And one thing I can tell you, Mnisi doesn't give up. And I can also tell you, Lieutenant Colonel Sereo, he's there for the day, okay? He does not care. He will not say what Mnisi wants him to say. He will go around in circle. As Mnisi said, teaching is in his blood. So he wants to remain politically correct the entire time. Actually, as a matter of fact, I recommend he become a politician. He's brilliant at avoiding questions. It is the number one skill I have taken from this entire session. Listen, I edited out most of their back and forth because I thought at some point they will get to the good part. They didn't get there. Mnisi realized, you know what? If we keep at this, we're never going to know what's going on. So this is what's going to happen. We're going to take an adjournment, possibly go call Dave and consult with the others, and then work out a new strategy, because after lunch is the hour, okay? Because no, Mnisi also doesn't like to lose either. That's why he asked the same question over and over and over again. So, you know what? If you've made it already this far in the video, you already know you have my heart. We're going for part 4 with Mnisi versus Sereo. It is tough, okay? The Sereo is soggy. The Sereo's voice is not voicing. There is no confidence, but there is demeanor. He's still going on to the 4th leg. So after they come back from lunch, then we will do a part 4, okay? Let me not make this video too long. Now, if you're not subscribed to the channel, this is a great time to subscribe so you don't miss this Mnisi Sereo series, because it's definitely a heated one, okay? Later on as well, of course, we'll get into what they got up to today. So, Guningi, okay? It is a lot. I still have to go back to Shololo and then Ngumalo, okay? So make sure you're subscribed. If you've made it this far in the video, you absolutely have my heart. You see, there's Ngomezulu over there. What are you doing, Ngomezulu? What are you doing? in the honorable court. And you know what? I am indebted to the court. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the subscriptions. Thanks for the donations over there in the memberships. You know what? Next week we will be I'll be posting a lot. You might miss me a lot on this channel, so make sure you're subscribed here, and then also go over to my other channel. Okay, link is in the description box down below. GNU Unfiltered. Okay, where we talk about this entire government unfiltered. We might even bring up conversations about the JP. Oh, and the Minister of Justice in court for VBS. Hello. You know what? If you want to hear my feedback on that, let's talk on the other side. Okay. Yeah, GNU Unfiltered. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you on my next upload. Mzansi Unfiltered. Checking out. Catch you on my next upload.
My lord, I'm indebted. Yeah.